Would you believe I'm having babies? One baby is my first grandchild, Leo, who is 7 pounds, 10 ounces today. And the second is this YouTube channel that is finally big enough to go out into the big wide world. Back in 2009, it was actually my very first paid event, speaking event, as a Catholic, and it was at the Therese of Lisieux Retreat Center up in Columbus, Ohio, for the deacons' wives of that diocese. And I remember being there and being struck by the fact that this was Therese of Lisieux's Retreat Center with the Therese of Lisieux Chapel with relics of Therese of Lisieux, and I also had a book by my godfather who always gave me books to read. And I was reading it and I realized two things. First, everything I had read coming into the Catholic Church was Carmelite, and I developed a certain affinity for her there. And I remember texting my godfather and I said, "This is so strange." And he said, "Sonja, just ask her what she wants." And I did in that chapel by her relics. And that was the first time and the place where Dream Big began. It came from her through Our Lady. And I know that because I had just finished my consecration to Our Lady the week before that event was scheduled. And Dream Big for me, because I won't belabor the point. Dream Big for me became a sort of inside joke between God and I. And so when I saw it, I knew that I was getting a little kiss from God. And he was sort of urging me on in my efforts at evangelization and ministry. And from that point, the ministry that I felt called to back in my 20s began to fully flower. And that's when my first book came out quickly after that, and everything started to kind of get on a roll. Well, later, like a year ago, I started getting a whole bunch of Dream Bigs again, just a flurry of them. And I even spoke to my spiritual director. I said, "I don't know what this is about." And I kept asking God, I kept saying, "What does this mean?" And I felt like it was an invitation again to dream big. And I told God, I said, "You have given me everything I have ever asked for. I wanted to not just have a happy family. I wanted to not just look like I had a happy family. I wanted a happy, healthy family. I wanted to not just look like a Christian. I wanted to be a real zealous for love of God Christian. I wanted not to just look like I had the things that were important to me in life." I'm sorry, I knew I was going to blubber through this whole thing. I asked him to help me truly have them, not just look like I did. And he was faithful to that. My marriage, my children, my ministry, everything. And that has been a lot of deep spiritual work, most of which I have shared with you over the years, much more transparently than I have always felt comfortable with. And I'll be honest, today I'm feeling a little nervy about how transparent I'm about to be here. But when I started to get that flurry of dream bigs again, and I started to ask the question, I didn't get an answer. And so I thought, all right, here was my prayer. All right, Lord, whatever it is in your heart for me, I want that. And I never really got an answer. I remember my best friend sent me a huge bouquet of roses and lilies. And I'm not even sure they were supposed to be roses and lilies, because the card that was in them said they were supposed to be orange. But they were red roses and white lilies. And I was praying again in my bedroom, and asking that question, Lord, when are you going to tell me what this is about? And my line of vision hit that bouquet of flowers, and I knew suddenly that we were having a redo, that somehow this new phase of Dream Big was the continuation of the first one, because Therese and Our Lady, through those flowers in part, were catching my attention. And so I just started really pondering. I was watching, And this July, my son came to me and proposed picking up the YouTube channel and doing something with it. Now, I have always said that my friends of the show, through my website, have made every one of the evangelistic efforts that I make possible. And that is absolutely true. All of my equipment, everything. You people have kept me alive and afloat in ministry. And you have carried this ministry with me through your prayers and your giving all this time. And I am super, super grateful. And so when he made that proposal, first of all, I have longed for years to do more with social media and YouTube. But with all the other things I'm doing, the one-on-one consults and writing books and my speaking events and travel, my pilgrimages, all that stuff, I just don't have time to do what essentially ends up being another full-time job. And I didn't want to have to learn all that is necessary to actually make it succeed. And I didn't have time for that either. I could have, but I just didn't. And I basically just gave that up. And I said, Lord, I don't have the time for it. And I just don't. But I really need this if the ministry is going to grow anymore. Well, then my son made that proposal, and I thought, well, okay, because he had shown me a YouTube channel that he had made a while back, and it was clever, and it was cute, well done, well produced, everything. So I was like, okay, so I had kind of tentatively planned on the back burner, that I would start doing video with my podcast, but my camera was old, and it was just too much to even worry about. So I didn't do it. But with his proposal, I thought, all right, well, I'll stick my toe in here and we'll see how this goes. And I did. So I ended up having to buy a new camera, which you helped buy. And then once I did that, it overloaded the other equipment. So one thing crashed after another. And you talk about months of bawling and hair pulling and, Lord, is this really something you want me to be doing? But I felt like this was an answer to prayer. And my son he's been doing it for free. He's been doing all this work for absolutely free. And I watched for that. I was like, well, if he's serious, then he'll do it without payment. And he has. So with all of the crashes of all the equipment, and then having to buy all the new stuff, I did all that. We got started, and I was watching an episode of Landman. And if you're watching it, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Monty is lying in the hospital after his heart attack, and the owner of the Cowboys, the Dallas Cowboys, is speaking to him. And I was watching that, and when he started to speak about how he bought the Dallas Cowboys in order to work with his family, I felt something click in me. And I thought, oh my gosh, this This has been the arc of my entire life. I homeschooled in order to be able to spend time with my kids and to answer their questions about faith and to just be with them so that they're not at school for 40 plus hours a week and then at all their activities. I mean, that was the whole reason that I homeschooled. And so I hadn't even considered something like that. I mean, even though my son was working with me and he was doing all this work, I basically record them. He takes them, he produces them, he puts them out on social media, he puts all the music to them, he does all of that. And if you've seen them, they're fabulous. I mean, they're funny. So I have been so amazed at, first of all, how well we work together, and secondly, how well done his work is and how respectful he has been of me and how intuitive he is of me and what I will like and what I might say and all of that stuff. I mean, it has been such a joy for me. And so when I saw Larry, I think his name is Larry, talking about his buying the Cowboys in order to spend time with his kids and how that has been one of the greatest gifts of his life, because they don't just spend Thanksgiving and Christmas together, they work together and they work out problems together and they reach goals together. And something clicked in me and I said, Lord, that is what I want. And I knew that was the answer to Dream Big, the second phase. And so we have gone whole hog. I mean, as I've said before, that is how I do things. I have learned to, have some balance, but little by little, we've gone all in. And I hope you can see the fruit of that. But we're at a point at which it's make or break. Either we stop or we move forward all the way. You have watched my son, many of you, grow up behind the scenes, heard about our foibles, both of my sons actually. You have been a part of our family. You have prayed for our family through all of the good stuff, all of the hard seasons. You have celebrated with us, me, when God has opened new doors for me, and He is opening some really crazy new doors right now. This is one of them. It's part of this, actually. But you've never been a subscriber or a donor to me. You are a member of our family. You are a member of the spiritual extended family that God has given me, and I see you that way, and I have always tried to serve you that way. I have always asked you if there's something that I could offer that I'm not offering, if there's something you need. What should the next series be? What are you working on? What are you having difficulties with? I have opened my life and my time. My community a lot of my time is spent answering your emails and your direct messages and staying in contact with you directly, because that is important to me. And it takes a lot of time. So I haven't been able to do this second part of ministry that really could reach the whole world. I just haven't had the time or the energy to do that because this has been more important to me. And it remains more important to me. But now I have somebody who wants to do it and is already doing it and is killing it. So I'm inviting you, because of your faithfulness, to be part of this growth, this new baby that has grown to the point where we're able to step out a little bigger in faith and dream big in a little bigger way. And I hope that you can dream with me. And because it's my son, I get a big old discount. I mean, if you research at all how much money someone in this profession requires and makes, and how much time, you know that it's unreachable for me. is completely unreachable. So the fact that my son was the one who offered, and it was an answer to prayer, and all of the things lined up, and he felt the call to do it, and I felt the call to let him, and we started working together, and it has flowered into something absolutely beautiful in our family. And I'm amazed by that, and it truly, I didn't even know to have that dream. And I remember when I told my spiritual director last month what was happening, she said, Sonja, you were so worried that you didn't have anything to ask for, and God has given you what he knew you would really, really want in a way that's going to bless so many other people. And I pray and hope that that's true, and I believe it's true. But we're going to need your help. So, starting today, you can enter into the inner circle of our family through YouTube memberships. And there are 3 tiers: a Hail Mary, an Our Father, and a Glory Be. So there's support there. It's less than a sugar habit that will actually fuel your faith at another level. And then there's a 3rd level, which is for the super fans who are able and willing to sort of go big. Dream big with me, if you're willing and able. And if you are, we would be so thankful. And all of this is an answer to our prayers. So every membership here on YouTube, every subscriber, every comment is a help along that dream, both for me and the ministry, but also in a family sort of way. And I'm inviting you to be part of that because you have always been part of everything that I've done. I've always included you, and you've always included me. And so I thank you. And I'm sorry that I've cried through this whole thing. But I look forward to our working together to fuel this YouTube ministry, this new baby, in a way that releases it out into the big wide world. So share me with the people who need that deeper healing, the people who you know can benefit from the things that I offer. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being part of our family.